Ladies and gentlemen, this is the beginning of the 2016 council budget hearings for department heads. I want to make a couple of announcements real quick before we get into the first budget item. Just since each department is scheduled for a limited amount of time, members of council, we try to limit you to 4 minutes in which to ask the questions and receive the answers if you could. Just be respectful to others in the time constraints during the hearing so that everyone may have an opportunity to speak and ask their questions. Try to keep it limited to budget questions and not operational. If you want to take some time to speak with the department heads afterwards, they'll be available. And also, if there's any questions of more detail about any finance issues that may arise, which naturally there would be, but if you want more detail that you feel like you're not getting now, the finance department is available there in the committee room. So, and I do want to say that members of the Budget and Finance Committee will be recognized first. The first one on the agenda is the trustee, Mr. Charlie Cardwell. Mr. Cardwell, ask if you could, thank you for being here and introduced your guest with us this evening. Hold on. Wait, I'm sorry. There.
Thank you. I have with me Ms. Pat Greer, who's the Deputy Trustee for Administration. The budget that I've been given by the administration and is being recommended to the Budget and Finance Committee, I definitely can live with. I would like to take a few minutes and talk about our tax relief program for the elderly and the 100% disabled veterans program. That program this year has been cut by the state. The state comptroller's office and the governor's office has recommended statewide $35 million for the program. And this amount was approved by the state legislature. Fully funding would have been $39 million. The trustees throughout the state, along with the comptroller's office, we were asked to come up with a plan that would reduce the growth in this program. And we feel that the changes that were made will make that happen as far as curbing the growth. We have 127,000 seniors statewide on the program. We have 10,000 veterans statewide on the program. The 10,000 veterans receive about 42% of the state appropriation, and the 127,000 seniors receive about 58%. Under the new proposal that has been approved by the state legislature, seniors receive a credit on the first $23,000 of appraised value. Veterans receive a credit on the first $100,000 of appraised value. Seniors have an income level of $28,690. And veterans that are already on the program, there is no income level. New veterans that will be coming on the program, they have to live with an income level of $60,000 a year. We have 6,396 seniors and 514 veterans on our program in Davidson County. The administration has appropriated or put in the budget roughly $3,700,000 to fund our double match for this program. As you know, in 2013, we elected to double match what the state was paying. There will be a small reduction in the amount that we will be giving. As far as the elderly and disabled, they're going to lose about $67 a year if they are in the urban services, and roughly $58 a year if they're in the GSD. Veterans could lose a little bit more. Since we double, or since we match, they could lose as much as $2,000 a year in the urban services and about $1,900 a year in the GSD. I would be glad to respond to any questions that anyone might have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Council Lady Langston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the Budget Committee. Good to see you, Mr. Caldwell.
Thank you.
This information you just released to us really concerns me about the relief program and for seniors and the veterans program, because both of these categories are in great need of the resources that your office, trustee office, has given, and has been real good in whatever the state passed down. It was passed directly on to these two programs.
Right.
Is there any recourse that you have or we have as the Budget Committee, as the Metro Council, to help keep these funds in place as they have been?
There's no additional funds that would be available at the state. I'm sure at the local level, if we had the revenues to be able to do this, we can make them whole. But the problem you're running into, whether you help this year or the next year, the growth in the veterans' disabilities are going to continue to grow. It's growing at 22% a year, the cost. And the state had told us that they could not continue to appropriate an increase of 22% a year for the program. So we can do just about anything we see fit to do, but at the same time, it's going to be just a continuous growth in that expense.
Well, is there anything that the local government can do?
But what we're doing, we're going to still double match.
Okay.
But it will be a little bit less because we'll be double matching a little bit less. That's what we're going to be. We're going to do our double match based on what the state pays.
So when tax time comes and the elderly apply for the relief program, there may be some consequences to some.
They're going to get, in the urban services, they're going to get about a $67 reduction in what they get. And in the GSD, about $58.
I see. Thank you. So
Yes,
this body needs to be prepared for that information. And I'd like you to pass on to Andrea in your office. She is so helpful, especially to seniors. She really takes the time to work with them and to make them understand what they're applying and what they should get. If you could pass these words on to her. Thank you.
Thank you. I will do that. We have a great staff when it comes to working with the seniors and veterans.
Well, is that, Councilor?
Yes, thank you.
That answer your question?
Yes.
Sorry for the confusion here. We just had looking at the administrative information. Mr. Caldwell, I'm sure you're aware of this. There is an additional $200,000 that is in the administrative. It's earmarked and dedicated to this program, the property tax relief program.
Yes, we asked for an increase because what's going to happen with the veterans especially, we were doing 2-for-1 with the veterans. A lot of the veterans, the state and what Metro pays will not owe any taxes. A lot of times their taxes will be less than what the state pays, therefore we don't pay anything. So what I'm thinking, since the state has reduced their amount that they're paying veterans, then it's going to call on us to pay a little bit more to do that double match. And I think I talked with Mr. Riebling, and that was the amount that he put in the budget based on our discussion.
Based on the discussion, it was the increase of 200,000?
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that, what you're saying is including the 200,000?
Right, yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Council Lady Weiner.
Thank you, Chair. I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Have we considered, or do there exist any grants that we might look at from a federal level that might be able to pass through for something to offset the losses at the state level?
We have not. It's my understanding that the veterans groups have been looking at federal funding for some of these local programs, but I've not heard anything back from them, and this started back in December.
Anything for seniors out there that we know of?
Not that I'm aware of, right.
John, who would be responsible for looking at possible grant opportunities to help offset the losses from the state?
Mr. Cardwell probably knows this better than I do, but I think the state law specifies that the General Assembly is authorized to do a property tax relief program for seniors and veterans. And they put however much money in they want, and then we are supposed to match it, but we do double matches. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Right.
So it's tied to whatever the state does. Now, I'm not sure that legally we could even solicit any grants for tax relief programs, since the Constitution specifies that the General Assembly can only do a tax relief program, and it has to be just for these two areas. So I'm not sure if any grants could be done or not.
So we would need state enabling legislation in order to even to look at it?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
Councilman Glover?
Mr. Cooper may have answered the question with regards to are we able to go at a greater amount? Obviously, we're already doubling.
Right.
But is there any legalities with regards to doing a greater amount than just the doubling?
No.
So there's no, okay, so there's not a problem there.
Right.
Then the other question I have, I noticed the internal service fees have increased by 5.14%. Do you know the reasoning why that took place?
I have no idea. That's the amount that they put in my budget as far as finance was concerned.
Okay. I know you probably don't have the answer to that. I would like to know the answer to that, because I see a lot of internal service fees as we're going to go throughout the next few weeks on why did we have such major increases there. So, and that's not only for this department, but for several.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, that's the amount that they put in my budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Glover. Councilman Bedney.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Caldwell, you and I discussed a while back about my interest in providing tax reliefs for people with disabilities that were younger than 65, and you indicated that that was regulated by state law. So I wonder if you have heard anything from the state in that regards. I did go and met with Speaker Harwell about it, but I lost track of it. I don't know where we are on that.
I have not. In fact, she did mention that to me the last time I was in her office, but I've not heard back from her.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Bedney. Another little note for council members. On C1 of your budget book, there is an explanation and it shows the variance of the internal service fees from previous budgets, and it also defines what those internal service fees are. I know every year for the past 3 years there's always been some question of how it operates and how they're broken down, so that might give you a little insight. Councilman Claiborne, stand by there. Councilman Claiborne.
Thank you, Charlie, for being here, and thank you for the work that you do in your office. One question about the veterans benefit. You were talking about the other two categories are down. The cap for their income is in like the upper 20s or the low 30s, and the veterans benefit you said is in this at 60,000.
Yes. Now
is that set by the state statute?
State statute. The current veterans, there's no income level.
Okay,
But any new veterans that may sign up this year and years later, they would have to abide by the $60,000 salary cap.
so that's a state,
It's by state statute.
okay,
yes, sir.
so we don't even have any flexibility in adjusting that. Okay. The other question I have, Mr. Chairman, is a blanket question, I guess for Ms. Lomax, that cuts across a lot of the different departments. As I looked at the book last night, I saw that almost all of them are realizing savings from fringe benefit. Can you explain to us what those fringe benefit savings to the different departments? I assume it's the same thing across the board.
It is the same thing. The Benefit Board has approved a smaller pension rate to be effective in the next budget cycle. It's dropping from, I think, almost 18% to down to 15%. And overall, it's creating just significant savings in the budget overall. So those savings are being taken from the departments.
The contribution rate.
That, yes, that is in the contribution rate.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Tiger.
Thank you. To tie your two follow-up questions, the fringe benefit reduction, is that a reflection of the increase in the stock market? Is why?
Exactly. I mean, it's directly related to the earnings in the pension funds over the past few years.
Okay. Do we make any allowance for downturns in the stock market in future, or is that just a year-by-year adjustment?
That's a year-by-year adjustment and analysis that would be done to determine what the required contribution is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. C1, can you just give us a primer on this internal service fee? What is the overall effect of internal service fees across the government? I mean, I'm looking on C3 and I see Mr. Cardwell's in there, and it looks like we're spending $1,489,300 more just in those general government departments. Is that a correct analysis?
That would be correct. If you recall from the budget presentation that Mr. Riebling provided to the council during the budget kickoff, he explained some of the improvements that were recommended for the departments. So, for example, the column there listed for information technology services, there was a significant enhancement in the ITS budget. So that would manifest itself into increased billings back out to departments to cover those improvements.
So a combination question to you and Mr. Cardwell. Do the department heads understand any better than we do the impact of internal service fees? And I mean, if Mr. Cardwell decides that my carpet doesn't need to be cleaned but once a quarter instead of once a month, can he save that internal service fee against his budget?
No, he can't. I mean, I'll let Mr. Cardwell speak to as far as what kind of services that he's getting, but the budgets are placed into the departmental budget so that they can pay for their fair share of services based on actual activities provided.
But those activities are based government-wide rather than focused on individual-wide.
Yes, yes.
So if a department head like Mr. Cardwell said, I know how I can save money on this, it really doesn't help him as much as it helps the entire government.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm not sure I agree with that, but I understand what you're saying. Okay, and then final question, Mr. Cardwell, the $15,000 increase in postage for reminders.
Yes.
What is the historical perspective of your email database sending billing? I know I get quite a few of mine. I'm signed up for the email rather than paper.
I think we're close to 10,000 emails. And, you know, we have to get the approval of the individual to
Right.
be able to email them a bill. This $15,000 we're asking for is to, in the past, except for a couple of years, we've sent out a reminder, usually the 1st of February, reminding the taxpayer that their bill is due no later than February the 28th. So we're hoping to use that money for postage to be able to cover the courtesy reminders that we'll send out next February. I've had some people complain about a courtesy reminder saying that they know that they owe their tax bill and they'll pay it when they get ready to. They don't want me reminding them. But then I think the bulk of the taxpayers appreciate getting a courtesy reminder before the taxes become due and delinquent.
So 10,000 emails as opposed to how many paper statements are going out? Approximately.
We're sending out, I think, about 80,000.
So we're at 12.5%, and we started at zero
Right, we did.
X number of years ago.
Probably 5 years ago, yes.
And is there still a marketing campaign to continue to increase that number?
We put it on every tax statement that if they would want to receive their statement by email, to send the form back, and we have a small form on the tax statement, tells them what to sign and send back in.
Does any other government department have access to your email database?
I don't think they do at this time. I know IT is building a database of every email there is, but I'm not sure that they have tapped into our email list.
It would seem to me that, we have several departments doing similar things between Mr. Rooker coming up next and whatnot by having a government-wide database of emails that you check off. Yes, I'm okay to receive this by email from the trustee. Yes, I'm okay to receive my property tax assessment from the assessor's office, et cetera. By having one database, we could create huge efficiencies rather than your staff having to maintain a database and somebody else's staff. And once again, the goal is to decrease that ITS bill and efficiencies in government.
Right. Oh, I agree. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Caldwell, Ms. Greer, thank you very much. There's no others in the queue. We certainly appreciate you coming and providing us with the information.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman and members of the council.
Next, we have the assessor of property, Mr. Rooker.